What is up, folks? Today's video, we're working on the Dodge Ram SRT10, kind of a 1500, you guys decide. But we're going to be removing the front springs on this truck. So if you guys happen to have a regular 1500 and you want to replace the springs for some reason, this is your video. I think we're gonna have to remove the front struts to get it as well. But the purpose of our spring removal is we're going to be putting on a set of lowering springs. So we're going to be, right now it's kind of already half on the lift, so that's not the true ride height on this truck. And if you guys are stopping in the channel for the first time, we are doing a bunch of stuff to this third gen. So we've done black housing headlights, we've done grille inserts. So all those videos are on this channel, so definitely check them out down below. But like I said, today's video, we're gonna show you guys how we are changing the springs on one of these trucks. So we're gonna lift it up, we'll remove the wheels, and we'll get at it and get those springs in there. Okay, we got John here, but right now we're loosening things. We don't have a problem with tightening, so we gotta keep an eye on this guy when we get to putting the truck back together. If you guys have been on the channel for a little bit, you'll know this guy's history.
This guy's a liar.
With this truck.
No, it was all his fault.
And it's cursed because of him.
No,
Blame him.
He put it on.
The reason why the truck doesn't run is because of him.
John, not this John, that one.
Blown him. All right, guys, so we spent a bit of time just reviewing, I guess, how to do it on this particular vehicle, since it's got, you know, a little bit different calipers and whatnot. But what we ended up finding is the caliper has to come off. You remove this upper ball joint, disconnect the sway bar. You also have to remove the shock, so on the top and the bottom. And you can pretty much take off the rotor at that point. The rotor can come off out of the way. And then you can remove it and take the spring out. So this side is actually done. We have that different spring in there now. And I'm gonna show you step by step on this side. Now that we've got the hang of things, I've got all my wrench sizes, and I can basically walk you guys through it step by step. So let's go ahead and tackle this side. I'll show you what's up. So depending on if your truck is this model, it might or may not have the same bolt size, but to remove the caliper on this one, it is a 18 mil bolt here and on the bottom. So there's two 18 mils. You'll take the caliper off, and then we can move on to the next step. Yeah. All right, guys, so we have our caliper bolts loose. I still have it here, but what I will be doing is I'm gonna set it up here on top of our A-arm. And you could probably hang this caliper, but this thing's so friggin' heavy. We tried hanging it with a few different things on the other side, and we found it better just to rest it up here and make sure that it's not gonna slide off or anything like that. So we have our top nut loose. So this is an 18 mil, and we have that loose. If you guys run into any issues, you can put a socket on the top here to hold it, or a wrench, and then use a wrench on the outside to hold that. So if it starts spinning on you, same thing here. So this is a 21 mil on this nut here. So you're gonna have to remove this nut right there. So 21 mil, remove that nut. Just be cautious of, you know, having a jack underneath it like we do. And then this here, I believe, is a 15 here on the sway bar. So you're gonna loosen that as well, because if you don't, then your suspension is not gonna be allowed to drop. So last but not least is underneath here. These bolts here are actually, you're gonna be removing the nut. They're 13 that hold the bottom of the strut in. So that's pretty much all the hardware you're gonna remove. So right now we have it supported by the jack. I'm gonna remove my 18 mil nut off the strut so that that can drop down. I'm gonna finish removing my nut here on there, and then I'll show you guys the next step in a second. Okay, so we got Jonathan removing those 13 mil nuts on the bottom, and that's on the bottom of the strut, and then we are going to remove this nut. We're gonna take off this washer. So we got a nut, a washer. We'll put this down here, and then we'll remove this rubber isolator bushing. And that's as much as you have to remove there. So as soon as he gets those two 13 mil nuts off that, our shock is gonna drop out the bottom. So just like that, John ended up dropping the shock out the bottom. So she's out, she's done. Next up, we're gonna remove the nut off of our sway bar. Jesus. All right, guys, so we've got our nut loose. We've got a jack supporting it, and we have the nut just sitting there. So it's pretty much off, but not, and that's off, everything's loose. We gotta break this ball joint free. John's gonna make sure the caliper doesn't go to the moon, and we're good. Woo.
There it is.
Now we'll lower the jack so that we can get the spring out. We'll let this sit like that, and I'll push this down. that's it. Out comes the spring. We can put in our new springs. Oh, one thing to mention, you guys, see the bottom of the spring, the coil? There's actually a specific spot in here that the coil end, like the bind ends. So make sure you put it in there, and that way your spring will be fully seated, and also make sure your hat is on the top. So let's go ahead and throw these in. All right, so you just put the jack back underneath, you jack up the lower control arm, then you can go ahead and put back on your nut. All right, we'll tighten this nut down. All right, so we've got that nut tight. John's down here tightening the bolts on the bottom of the shock. So the 213s, we got the shock in, and we can, in a second here, we can tighten this one now too. Okay guys, sway bar's tight, bottom bolts 13s are tight, and let's go ahead and we'll put that caliper on there, and then we can also tighten our shock. So we have the jack still holding it. Let's put our caliper bolts back on. Also have to put the rotor that we have over here back on. Let's do it. Oh, Jesus. This thing's weigh a damn ton.
Yeah, you had me pick it up.
That's right. You're supposed to be young and strong, aren't you?
Fuck that. Why am I gonna break my back while I'm good, you know?
Now you just sound like Alright, so the caliper is tight, and we'll go ahead and we'll put this rubber isolator bushing, the washer, and then we'll grab our nut and we'll put it all on the top. So we'll tighten this down, and that's the last thing before the wheel. Okay, everything is tight. We got that top nut tightened down, brakes tight.
We double checked everything. Double check it. Everything's tight.
It's his fault. If anything comes loose, it's his fault. And everybody on the channel should know to blame him by now. All right, let's get the wheels on. Everything's tight, and we will see what kind of results we have with this lowering. You excited?
I'm excited.
One thing is, you are technically supposed to remove this bump stop. I think I'm going to be doing it in the future, and very near future. We're not going to be driving it, this truck, anytime soon, so it's kind of just like a project, but ideally you would have to remove the bump stop and put like a energy suspension one in there. So that's what we'll end up doing next, but hopefully when we lower it, it's not gonna be resting on those, so we can see the true ride height. But we'll get the wheels on, we'll see what's up. All right, we got the wheels on. We'll pull the safety latches out. We got John over there, you good?
There you go. All clear?
Down.
You sure?
I think so. Just don't go all the way so that we don't have to reposition the jack, but we broke it.
Okay, bro. Tell me when to stop.
Keep going. Okay guys, so it's still gonna have some settling to do, but this is how it looks. So it's definitely lower in the front. Like I said, a little bit of settling to do, and I think we do need to cut off those bump stops because it is pretty much just kissing them as it is. I don't know if you guys can see it from here, but trust me when I say that it's pretty much touching the bump stop. So if we run around this side, you guys can get an idea or see how it looks. So it's definitely a lot lower in the front, and like I said, it is gonna settle. And just for some contrast, you can see in the back it's a lot higher sitting, so it's got quite a bit of rake right now, but I am guessing and anticipating that the front is going to settle a little bit, like I said. And even just with the wheels shuffling, I haven't rolled it, or we haven't turned the wheels all over the place to sit there and get it to settle down. Plus the bump stops are just ever so slightly holding it up. So next up is going to be the rear, but that's going to pretty much do it, you guys. This thing is really starting to come along. I'm super happy with the outcome. I think John's liking how she's looking right now.
Like if you like it.
Yeah, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, you guys. We're gonna keep plugging away on this thing and making it you know, look good. I mean, we're not doing anything cheesy to it, so don't hate me for, you know, modifying this ever so slightly. Everything is 100% reversible. You know, the grill, the headlights, the wheels, we still have all the stock stuff. We're still keeping all the stock stuff. We were just making this thing look like a beast. I've been looking at this truck since 2005, so for 15 years it's looked bone stock, and I'm really liking the change. So anyways, you guys, make sure you give this a thumbs up, otherwise John's not going to tighten the bolts. He's promised. Look at that. Look at his stance. Promise me, if you don't give it a thumbs up, he's gonna leave some loose bolts. We might even start a hashtag. Hashtag keep it tight. Hashtag make sure it's tight. hashtag. Anyways, let me know down below. Actually, leave a comment what hashtag we should start making. We'll make some shirts, some stickers for keep it tight, make it tight,
Is it tight?
make sure it's tight, is it tight? Any of those hashtags, let us know down below. We'll play around with it. We'll get some fun going. So anyways, lots of stuff on the way, you guys. Like I said, we're gonna lower the rear next, I think, and also we're gonna do something about the chrome badging as well. So everything's reversible, but we're gonna make it fun. Stick around, and we got more on the way for this and plans for the Dakota over there. See you next one.